Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because somewhere along the way, they stopped rebuilding themselves. Life happens. Priorities shift. Disappointments accumulate. And without realizing it, we begin living on old decisions, outdated habits, and a version of ourselves that no longer fits the future we want. We wake up one day feeling stuck, not because we went in the wrong direction, but because we stopped moving altogether. Think about this for a moment. Everything around you changes: technology, expectations, opportunities, challenges. Many people expect to grow without adjusting, succeed without upgrading, and move forward while standing still. That gap between where you are and where you want to be doesn't appear overnight. It is built quietly, day by day, through neglect, comfort, and delay. The truth is, rebuilding yourself is not something you do after life falls apart. It is something you do so your life doesn't fall apart. It is a conscious decision to pause, take responsibility, and say, I can become better than I am today. Not because you are broken, but because growth is your responsibility. This moment right now is not asking you to regret the past or fear the future. It is asking one simple question. Are you willing to rebuild yourself before life forces you to? Personal responsibility is the foundation of change because nothing truly improves in a person's life until they accept that they are the primary cause of their results. This does not mean blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong, but it does mean recognizing that how you think, decide, and act determines the direction your life takes. Many people remain stuck not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they give their power away by blaming circumstances, other people, or the past. The moment responsibility is shifted outward, control is lost. When responsibility is taken inward, control is restored. Taking responsibility requires honesty. It asks you to look at your current situation, your finances, your health, your skills, your relationships, and admit that these areas reflect patterns of choices made over time. This realization can be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. If your choices created your current position, then new choices can create a different future. Responsibility turns problems into projects. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You begin asking, what can I do about this now? That single shift changes everything. Personal responsibility also builds maturity. A responsible person does not wait for motivation, permission, or perfect conditions. They understand that progress begins with action, not emotion. They stop negotiating with excuses and start acting with intention. When mistakes happen, they learn instead of defend. When results are poor, they adjust instead of complain. This mindset creates momentum because every experience, good or bad, becomes useful. Another powerful aspect of responsibility is that it strengthens self-respect. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, follow through on a commitment, or correct a poor habit, your confidence grows. You begin to trust yourself. That trust becomes the inner stability that no external validation can replace. Responsible people are not controlled by trends, opinions, or temporary feelings. They lead themselves first. Responsibility also clarifies priorities. When you accept that your life is your responsibility, time becomes valuable. Energy becomes intentional, and distractions lose their appeal. You start making decisions based on long-term impact rather than short-term comfort. Discipline replaces impulse, and direction replaces drift. Ultimately, rebuilding yourself always begins with the same quiet decision: to stop waiting for life to change and start changing yourself. Responsibility is not heavy, it is empowering. It does not limit freedom, it creates it. When you fully accept responsibility for who you are, becoming growth is no longer optional, excuses lose their grip, and forward movement becomes inevitable. Self-discipline is the practical force that turns intention into reality. Many people have goals, dreams, and good ideas, but without discipline, those ideas remain hopes instead of outcomes. Discipline is not about harsh control or punishment. It is about training yourself to do what needs to be done, even when it is inconvenient or uncomfortable. It is the ability to choose long-term benefit over short-term relief. And that ability determines the distance between where you are and where you want to be. Every meaningful improvement requires consistent action, and consistency is impossible without discipline. Motivation comes and goes, emotions rise and fall, and circumstances are rarely ideal. Discipline steps in when enthusiasm fades. It keeps you reading when entertainment is easier, practicing when quitting feels tempting, and preparing when procrastination feels harmless. In this way, discipline becomes a stabilizing force that carries you forward regardless of how you feel on a given day. Self-discipline also shapes character. Each disciplined action reinforces your identity as someone who follows through. Over time, you stop seeing discipline as something you force yourself to do and begin to see it as who you are. This identity shift is powerful because behavior flows naturally from identity. When you see yourself as a disciplined person, making strong choices becomes less of a struggle and more of a standard. Another important aspect of discipline is that it simplifies life. Indecision, chaos, and regret consume enormous mental energy. Discipline removes that burden by creating structure. When you have set routines, clear standards, and non-negotiable habits, you waste less time debating and more time progressing. Discipline reduces friction and increases focus, allowing you to direct your energy toward what truly matters. Discipline also protects you from your weaker moments. Everyone experiences doubt, fear, and fatigue. In those moments, relying on feelings leads to inconsistency. Discipline acts as a safeguard, reminding you of commitments made during moments of clarity. It keeps you aligned with your values rather than your impulses. This protection is especially important when pursuing long-term goals that offer little immediate reward. Most importantly, self-discipline creates freedom. While it may feel restrictive at first, it ultimately expands your options. A disciplined mind, body, and schedule open doors that an undisciplined life keeps closed. Opportunities favor those who are prepared, reliable, and consistent. Discipline quietly builds that readiness day by day. Through repeated disciplined actions, you gradually bridge the gap between potential and performance, turning intention into progress and progress into lasting transformation. Growth begins with honest self-evaluation because improvement is impossible without awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to see, and you cannot strengthen what you pretend is already strong. Many people avoid self-evaluation because it feels uncomfortable, but discomfort is often the price of clarity. Honest reflection is not about self-criticism or guilt. It is about seeing yourself as you truly are, without exaggeration or denial. That clarity becomes the starting point for real progress. Self-evaluation requires separating facts from feelings. Feelings often tell us stories that protect our ego, while facts reveal patterns that demand change. When you look at your daily routines, the way you spend your time, the conversations you avoid, and the habits you repeat, you begin to see the true source of your results. Your outcomes are not random. They are reflections of consistent behaviors. Honest evaluation allows you to connect the dots between what you do and what you experience. Another powerful aspect of self-evaluation is that it replaces comparison with self-awareness. Instead of measuring your life against others, you begin measuring yourself against your own potential. This shift removes jealousy and replaces it with responsibility. You stop asking why someone else is ahead and start asking what skills, disciplines, or attitudes you need to develop. Progress becomes personal rather than competitive. Self-evaluation also reveals blind spots. Everyone has areas where they overestimate their effort or underestimate their weaknesses. Without reflection, these blind spots quietly sabotage progress. When you regularly assess your performance, your attitude, and your results, you gain the ability to course correct early instead of paying the price later. Small corrections made early prevent major regrets in the future. Honest self-evaluation strengthens emotional intelligence. It teaches you to observe your reactions instead of being controlled by them. You begin to notice patterns in how you respond to stress, failure, and success. This awareness allows you to choose better responses rather than repeating automatic behaviors. Over time, you gain greater control over your mindset, which directly influences your actions and decisions. Self-evaluation also builds humility and confidence at the same time. Humility comes from recognizing where you need to improve, while confidence comes from knowing exactly what to work on. Vague frustration disappears when replaced by clear understanding. You stop feeling lost because you have a direction for growth. When practiced consistently, honest self-evaluation becomes a habit of leadership over yourself. It transforms mistakes into feedback and challenges into insight. By regularly stepping back to assess who you are, what you are doing, and where you are headed, you create alignment between intention and action, allowing growth to occur naturally and continuously. Your habits quietly shape your future because they are the repeated actions that slowly construct your identity and determine your results. Most people think change happens through big decisions or dramatic moments, but in reality, life is shaped in the ordinary, almost invisible routines practiced every day. What you do consistently matters far more than what you do occasionally. Habits operate whether you are paying attention or not, which is why they are either silently working for you or quietly working against you. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. The way you start your mornings, how you manage your time, what you consume mentally and physically, and how you respond to challenges all create a pattern. Over time, these patterns harden into character. Good habits do not guarantee instant success, just as poor habits do not create immediate failure, but both are patient and persistent. They accumulate and eventually their results become unavoidable. Habits also reduce the need for constant decision-making. When behavior becomes automatic, it no longer relies on willpower. This is why habits are so powerful. Willpower is limited and unreliable, but habits run on autopilot. A person with strong habits does not struggle daily to make good choices. Those choices have already been decided through routine. This creates consistency, and consistency is the true engine of long-term progress. Another important truth about habits is that they influence self-belief. When you repeatedly follow through on positive habits, you begin to see yourself as capable and dependable. This strengthens confidence in a practical, earned way. On the other hand, repeated neglect of good habits erodes self-trust, leading to frustration and doubt. The internal conversation you have with yourself is shaped by the evidence your habits provide. Habits also determine your response to pressure. In moments of stress or uncertainty, people do not rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of their habits. Training yourself through daily routines prepares you for challenges before they arrive. When difficulty appears, you respond with what you have practiced, not what you hoped you would do. Changing habits requires awareness and patience. Small changes done consistently create powerful momentum. You do not need to overhaul your entire life at once. Replacing one negative habit with one positive habit can begin a chain reaction. Over time, these small improvements reshape your environment, your mindset, and your outcomes. Because habits work silently, they often go unnoticed until results appear. By then, the direction has already been set. Choosing your habits carefully is one of the most important decisions you make. Because through repetition, they gradually design the future. You eventually step into adversity of the classroom, not a punishment. Because difficulty is one of life's most effective teachers. While comfort encourages maintenance, challenge demands growth. Many people interpret adversity as evidence that something has gone wrong, but in reality, it often signals that something important is being developed. Pressure reveals weaknesses, exposes strengths, and forces adaptation. Without resistance, potential remains dormant. Adversity refines awareness. When life is smooth, habits and attitudes go largely unquestioned. Struggle interrupts routine and forces reflection. It asks uncomfortable questions about preparation, mindset, and discipline. In these moments, excuses lose their effectiveness and reality becomes clear. The lessons learned during hardship tend to be deeper and more permanent than those learned during ease, because they are tied to emotional experience. Difficulty also builds resilience. Each challenge faced and endured expands your capacity to handle the next one. Strength is rarely formed in comfort. It is built through repeated exposure to difficulty. Over time, adversity teaches you that you can survive more than you once believed. This realization changes how you approach future problems. Instead of panic, there is perspective. Instead of avoidance, there's engagement. Adversity sharpens decision-making. When resources are limited and consequences are real, priorities become clear. You learn what truly matters and what does not. Distractions lose their appeal and focus increases. Hard times demand efficiency, forcing you to eliminate waste in your thinking, actions, and habits. This refinement often leads to better judgment long after the difficulty has passed. Challenges also cultivate humility and empathy. Struggle reminds you of your limitations and increases understanding of others who face hardship. This emotional maturity improves relationships and leadership. People who have endured difficulty tend to listen more carefully, judge less quickly, and offer guidance rooted in experience rather than theory. Adversity can also redirect purpose. Many people discover their true strengths, values, or calling not during success, but during struggle. Obstacles often push individuals onto paths they would not have chosen voluntarily but later recognize as essential to their growth. What initially appears as a setback can become a turning point. The outcome of adversity depends less on the event itself and more on the response to it. Some grow bitter while others grow wiser. Viewing adversity as instruction rather than injustice changes its impact. Each challenge carries information, and those willing to learn from it emerge stronger, clearer, and more capable. When embraced as a teacher, adversity becomes one of the most powerful forces for personal development and lasting inner strength. Long-term success is built through daily, intentional improvement because meaningful achievement is rarely the result of sudden breakthroughs. It is the outcome of small, thoughtful actions repeated consistently over time. Many people overestimate what can be done in a short period and underestimate what steady effort can accomplish. Progress that lasts is usually quiet, gradual, and almost unnoticeable at first, yet it compounds into results that appear extraordinary in hindsight. Daily improvement begins with intention. Random effort produces random results, but deliberate action creates direction. When you choose each day to improve a specific skill, strengthen a useful habit, or refine your thinking, you are shaping your future with purpose. Even minor adjustments, when guided by clarity, move you forward. The key is not intensity, but consistency. A small step taken every day travels farther than a large step taken only occasionally. This approach removes the pressure of perfection. Focusing on daily progress allows room for mistakes, learning, and adjustment. You do not need to have everything figured out to begin. You only need to commit to getting slightly better than you were yesterday. This mindset reduces overwhelm and keeps momentum alive, especially during periods when results are slow to appear. Daily improvement also builds confidence in a realistic way. Each completed action provides evidence of growth. Over time, this evidence accumulates, reinforcing belief in your ability to improve and adapt. Confidence grows not from positive thinking alone, but from repeated proof that effort leads to progress. This grounded confidence sustains motivation far better than temporary enthusiasm. Another benefit of daily improvement is resilience. When progress is built gradually, setbacks are less damaging. Missing a day or encountering a challenge does not erase momentum because the foundation is already strong. The focus shifts from perfection to persistence. You learn to return to the process rather than abandon it. Intentional improvement also sharpens awareness. By reflecting regularly on what is working and what is not, you become more strategic with your time and energy. Wasteful habits are replaced with purposeful ones and effort becomes more efficient. This refinement accelerates growth without increasing strain. Over time, daily improvement compounds in ways that are difficult to predict but impossible to ignore. Skills deepen, character strengthens, and opportunities expand. What once felt like effort becomes second nature. Long-term success, then, is not a distant achievement but the natural result of choosing day after day to grow with purpose, patience, and steady commitment. As we come to the close of this message, remember that rebuilding yourself is not a single decision made once in a lifetime, but a commitment renewed every day. It begins with taking responsibility for who you are and where you are headed. It grows through discipline, honest self-evaluation, and the habits you practice when no one is watching. Along the way, adversity will test you. But those challenges are not meant to stop you. They are meant to shape you. When you choose daily, intentional improvement, Progress becomes inevitable and growth becomes a way of life. You do not need to be perfect to move forward. You only need to be willing to learn, willing to adjust, and willing to keep going even when results take time. Every small effort you make in rebuilding yourself strengthens the foundation of your future. Over time, those efforts compound into confidence, clarity, and capability. The person you are becoming matters more than the position you are trying to reach. Your life responds to the standard you set for yourself. Raise that standard through consistent action, thoughtful choices, and a commitment to growth. When you rebuild yourself from the inside out, everything around you begins to change. I wish you the courage to take responsibility, the discipline to stay consistent, and the patience to trust the process. Good luck on your journey of growth and self-improvement, and thank you for your time and attention.